What's going on, guys? It's Foxxy here, bringing you a review of Spec Ops: The Line. Funny thing is, I never had any intention of even playing this game, but I was told by a good friend of mine that I have to at least try it out, so I did. Anyway, Spec Ops: The Line was developed by Jaeger and published by 2K Games. The game was released for PC, the 360, and PlayStation 3 on June 26, 2012 in North America, and on June 29, 2012 in Europe. From what I understand, the game was delayed for whatever reason I don't think was told to us. But I guess it doesn't really matter, as long as they're working on the game to make it better and not releasing something half-assed, I'm completely fine with it. So to start off, the story takes place in Dubai. The 33rd Battalion was sent there to help the people out as a relief unit. But the sandstorms kept getting worse and worse until the place went to shit, and they eventually lost all communications with the 33rd. Your team was sent to Dubai to scout out the perimeter, find out if there's any survivors nearby, and then report back to base. Well, it turns out when you make contact with the first people you find, they just so happen to be hostile armed men who are called insurgents, and they captured a squad of the 33rd Battalion. Now the rest of your journey, you find out what exactly took place in these past months. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because the story is really damn good. If you want to find out more about the story, just play the damn game. Don't spoil it by looking up shit online. That's going to ruin the whole entire experience. To be honest, I didn't really expect much from the story, but I was very pleasantly surprised by it. There's something about it that kept drawing me in to the point where just the story alone could have kept me playing. I wanted to know what exactly was happening and what was going to happen next, and the story came off as believable. It never jumped the shark and made me scream bullshit, which is very good. And speaking of the story, I would say the length is about normal for a shooter game these days. It probably took me around 5 hours, give or take, to complete it. Also, it has 4 different endings too, and the good thing about that is the story itself is so compelling that I have absolutely no problems at all going back and trying to complete them all. Now, the guy you play as is voiced by Nolan North. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's the voice of Desmond Miles from Assassin's Creed, Richtofen from Call of Duty World at War and the Black Ops games, Nathan Drake from Uncharted, and seriously a shit ton more. The guy is everywhere, it seems, and you know what? He deserves to be, because he is an incredible actor. And not just Nolan North, but really everyone in this game did an amazing job with the dialogue. So, the graphics, are they the best I've ever seen? Well, absolutely not. While they are pretty good, there's plenty of other games that have much better graphics, even some from a few years ago. But I don't really care, as long as the game doesn't look like utter dog shit, then it doesn't bother me at all. I love that even though the game's setting takes place in a sand-ridden hell, it never gets boring because it looks like it should look if something like this were to ever happen, whether it be in the Middle East or anywhere there's a shitload of sand. It looks realistic and gritty, again like I think it should look. That being said, I did come across just one very minor issue I had with the graphics, and that is a cutscene where you can obviously tell that the graphics have not rendered fully and it looks like shit for a few seconds. But I noticed that if I were to restart the chapter with that same cutscene in it, it doesn't have this problem anymore. Again, this is just something very minor, but I don't know, I just felt like it's kind of worth noting.
Do you read? Operation Reclamation has suffered max casualties.
Hold your fire until I give the word.
No longer a threat. Remaining gray fire.
He's done! I'm reloading!
The sound is pretty good for the most part. I already mentioned how great the acting was, but I want to add just one thing I really fell in love with, and that is the more you progress through the story, you'll notice a change in both the physical appearance and the way you and your team sound and act. For example, you start out all clean, calm, and professional, then later on, you're all torn up, screaming, your voice is cracking, and you're just about ready to lose your mind. It adds to the overall feel of the game, and it's really amazingly well done.
Move up, but watch that fucking turn.
Shit, can't get a clean shot. Break it home.
God damn it! Reload! Watch my back!
Let's focus more on the gameplay here. First off, the controls in this game are nice and fluid. Everything feels very smooth. I really enjoy the cover system as well. It looks great and you can swap from cover to cover, which is always nice. You can even slide into cover when you hold the X button while running when you are near like a car or something. It's also very useful for when you're getting shot at and you just need to find cover as fast as you can, because obviously you don't want to die. Even though the cover system is not the best I've ever seen, it's still really damn good. Now, I played this game on what I believe to be the normal difficulty, and it was pretty challenging. The enemies will take you down very easily if you have no idea what you're doing. There were even moments where the enemy was flanking me and I didn't even realize it until, well, they ended up killing me. But there is also an easy mode for those who don't like too much of a challenge. Speaking of that, I heard somewhere that people were complaining about the enemy AI being very stupid or some shit. And I'd have to call bullshit on that, unless you are playing on easy, but isn't that really the point of the mode here? Because I didn't come across this once when playing on normal. Although I must admit, your allies sometimes will get a little stupid and just run into an open field with like 20 guys firing at them, but I don't think this has happened more than a few times, so I'm not sure this is much of an issue. You can order your teammates to kill a specific enemy by holding down the R2 button and hovering the marker over the enemy. They usually kill them pretty quickly too, so you can use them to kill some of the guys that you're having problems with. Sometimes I use it just to spot enemies that I can't see, so it makes it easier for me to know where they are, and it's pretty damn useful.
Got the target. Lugo! Adams! That doesn't sound like an exit!
I'm on it! Keep them the fuck off me! 2 RPGs! Up high!
Snipe that RPG!
No can do!
Take him down!
There is also moments where the game will go into a brief slow-mo, and this happens when you do certain things like headshots, multi-kills, environmental kills, and a couple other random things. It's kinda nice because it doesn't go overboard with it, like it only lasts not even a second or so, and it's not like it happens every single time you do a headshot, for example, otherwise I could see it getting old extremely fast.
Repeat! Heavy trooper is fucking down!
Another thing I like is the good variety of weapons that you can get as the game progresses. Like at the beginning you can only really find either a shitty machine pistol or the AK, then later on you find better guns like a P90, a SCAR, a couple snipers, and my favorite, the AA-12. Also, majority of the guns in the game have some unique option that you can use. For example, the AK can switch from burst to full auto fire, the SCAR can swap to its grenade launcher, and there's a few guns that can use a silencer. All you have to do to use these is just by pressing up on the D-pad, and well, there you go. So overall, I really enjoyed the gameplay of Spec Ops: The Line. It never really came off as a typical third-person shooter. It also does a great job of keeping the fighting environments balanced and fresh. There's not too many times where you're fighting in just an open field, and same goes for like close quarters. And I cannot begin to tell you how many shooters I've played in the past where it feels like I'm just fighting in the same types of areas the entire game, and it just gets really stale and boring. But when I played Spec Ops, I never felt this way at all, so great job there. Alright, so the multiplayer. I'm just going to say that it's not really even worth talking about in too much detail at all. Is it bad? Well, I guess it's not the worst thing I've ever played, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty fucking bad, and I blame this on the other developer who specifically made the multiplayer. When you play the single player, and then you switch off to play the multiplayer, and you'll understand why. I mean, it feels completely different, and it plays, well, kinda shit, and there's even times where I froze in the middle of matches, which, you know, that's always nice. And I heard even one of the developers of the single player trashed the multiplayer or something like that. And that's kind of a damn shame because the single player outshines the multiplayer by, well, leaps and bounds. It's, to me, what actually sells this game. It's just flat out amazing. And I can't stress this enough. But I guess the good thing here is that I don't care too much about multiplayer games these days compared to maybe like a few years ago. But if someone were to want to try a new multiplayer game, I really don't think this is the one for you, but, you know, I could be wrong. I'm sure there's people out there that do enjoy it, but for me, not so much. And now I wonder what would have happened if the people who made the single player just, well, did the whole game themselves. would they have been able to make the multiplayer actually amazing? The sad thing is, it's not like we'll ever be able to find out.
I mean, come on. You didn't actually think we'd just let you walk in here, did you?
Yeah, we did. We're looking for survivors.
Well, you found some. It's a bitch, ain't it?
Alright, so to bring to a close, Spec Ops: The Line sure surprised the hell out of me. I was not expecting much from this game, and to be honest, I thought it was just going to be another typical modern shooter. And, well, I was wrong. Turns out this is probably one of the best third-person shooters I've played in maybe the last 2 years. So obviously you can tell that I would recommend playing it. Even if you have no desire to play the game like I did, just try it out. As for the multiplayer, well, I'm just going to pretend that Spec Ops never had one to begin with.
Move in! Surprise! The coroner!
I love this song! Steve, on the right!
Go!